Good evening, or whatever passes for it these days. Dougie's been running drills again. Don't panic, the world hasn't ended yet. He just wants you to imagine it has for training purposes. Apparently it's cheaper than therapy and slightly less painful than dating. So, settle in, one man, one microphone, and a lesson in how not to lose your mind, or your manners, when everything else goes dark. Here's Dougie Mac Prep.
You're listening to Armageddon's Runway, survival fashion for the end of the world. Practical, tactical, and just a little bit sarcastic.
Greetings, listeners, and welcome back to another Armageddon's Runway. Right then, let's paint a picture, shall we? It's morning. You reach for the kettle, dead. You check your phone, blank. Wi-Fi's gone, radio's static, and the fridge is slowly sweating itself into retirement. Congratulations. You've just joined the unofficial dress rehearsal for Armageddon. Now, don't panic. I'm not saying this is happening. I'm saying imagine it. Because if you can imagine it, you can prepare for it. And if you can prepare for it, you might just handle the next real-world crisis without screaming into a pillow. First lesson, silence. Modern folk think quiet means peace. Wait till you hear real silence. No hum of traffic, no buzz of screens, just your own heartbeat, and the faint sound of a neighbor discovering instant noodles don't boil without power. That's when you realize how addicted we were to noise. Every ping, beep, and pointless notification. All those distractions kept us from noticing who we were stuck with. You look up from the dead phone, and there's another human being across the room. Remember them? The one who used to exist somewhere between your playlists and your endless scrolling? Well, that's your company now. No filters, no editing, no escape button, just conversation. The most terrifying survival skill of the 21st century. People ask, what's the first thing you'd miss in an apocalypse? They expect me to say water, food, maybe chocolate. No, it's choice. All those thousands of pointless choices we thought mattered. What to watch, what to swipe, what to click. When the power dies, so does the illusion that you've got infinite options. Then it's just you, the person beside you, and whatever kind of human being you decide to be today. Here's the good news. You don't have to wait for civilization to crumble to test this. Try a power cut. Unplug yourself for a weekend. Sit with someone and talk until the awkwardness wears off. If it ever does. You'll learn more about love, patience, and tolerance in 2 hours of honest silence than in a lifetime of half-hearted texts. Now, about relationships, because that's what this little exercise is really about. Before the lights went out, people treated affection like online shopping. Scroll, select, discard, connection reduced to algorithms and emojis. But here, in our imaginary bunker, there's no signal. No apps, no curated personalities. You can't ghost someone when they're the only other heartbeat in the room. So, what do? You learn, or relearn, the oldest skills on earth, listening, humor, compromise. You discover that flirting isn't a string of digital winks, it's sharing warmth from the same candle and pretending not to notice whose hand's shaking. You start valuing decency over drama, kindness over cleverness. Because out here, charm's a currency that doesn't expire. And there'll still be nerves. Humans never stop finding ways to be awkward. You'll have the grand romance conversation while sorting tinned beans because survival and affection share the same shelf space. 1 minute, you're arguing over how to ration coffee. Next minute, you're dividing blankets. That's how connection begins. Necessity first, comfort later, laughter somewhere in between. Lesson 2. Don't mistake proximity for intimacy. Just because you're sharing air doesn't mean you're sharing understanding. Talk. Not the weather, not nostalgia. Talk about who you are when no one's watching. You might not like what you hear from yourself, never mind them, but honesty is the only luxury left when everything else is stripped away. And remember, humor is rations for the soul. If you can still laugh when the lights go out, you've already beaten half the apocalypse. So keep it handy. Sarcasm's lighter than water and lasts longer than bread. So there we are. The lights are out, the noise is gone, and you're left with raw human company. Awkward? Aye. Essential? Absolutely. Because this is where survival starts. Not with gear or gadgets, but with remembering how to be human without them. Right. So you've made it past the first night. You've survived the silence, resisted the urge to talk to your dead phone, and discovered the candlelight makes everyone look slightly more philosophical than they really are. Congratulations. You're officially cohabiting the end of the world. Now comes the tricky part. Living with someone when the whole planet stopped moving. No schedules, no commutes, no social media to vanish into. It's just the two of you, your mutual breath fogging the same bit of air, and a tin of beans. You're both pretending you're not counting spoonful by spoonful. You'd be surprised how fast civilization boils down to manners. You can measure love in how evenly you split the last coffee sachet. You can measure trust in whether they leave you the corner of the blanket, and you can measure compatibility by whether the silence feels safe or suffocating. There's a myth that hardship makes people noble. Nah, it just makes people visible. Whatever was hiding under the noise comes strolling out in its slippers. You'll see kindness, sure, someone saving the last match so you can light it, but you'll also see pettiness, jealousy, all the usual human rubbish, just louder now that the world stopped shouting over it. You start learning the new language of affection. A nod when the water's boiled, a joke that lands when morale's low, a hand that steadies yours when you spill half the rice and almost cry about it. Romance rebrands itself as teamwork. And you'll fight. Of course you will. There's no I'm going for a walk when outside's a dust storm. Arguments become endurance sports. You'll discover the art of sulking silently, sitting 3 feet apart and pretending to read the same survival manual for the 5th time. The smart ones make peace fast. Oxygen and forgiveness run out at similar speeds. But here's the funny thing. The smaller the world gets, the bigger the heart tries to be. When the list of available humans shrinks to 1, every small act counts double. A shared biscuit becomes an anniversary. A bad joke becomes therapy. And laughter, even the tired kind, becomes proof that life's still sneaking through the cracks. See, we used to think love was about grand gestures, holidays, gifts, public declarations. Turns out it's just two people not throttling each other in close quarters. It's finding a rhythm between annoyance and affection, where every compromise is a tiny treaty that keeps civilization alive on a micro scale. You'll start to notice how practical love becomes. Who can fix things, who can plan meals, who remembers to ration corned beef as carefully as batteries. You stop saying I love you and start saying I've already boiled the water. It's not less romantic, it's just more honest. And under all the sarcasm, there's a quiet truth. Partnerships in collapse aren't about surviving the end. They're about refusing to stop living. If you can still laugh, share, argue, and make peace, you're already rebuilding something that matters more than the grid ever did. So, lesson 3, affection's a survival skill. Not the soppy, cinematic kind, the real, stubborn kind that keeps you from giving up. Because in the dark, when there's no audience and no internet applause, love's not a feeling. It's a daily decision to stay kind when it'd be easier not to. So, you've made it through the awkward introductions, the ration negotiations, and the first argument about whose turn it is to stir the soup. Welcome to the advanced course, Communication Under Siege. In here, space is a myth. The room's too small for secrets, and the silence too loud for lies. You learn fast that words are rations, use them carelessly, and morale drops quicker than the temperature. First rule, don't weaponize the truth. Honesty's valuable, but timing's priceless. Telling your partner their snoring sounds like a dying generator might be accurate, but it's not exactly motivational at 3 a.m. Pick your battles the way you pick your meals. Rarely, carefully, and preferably when everyone's eaten. Second rule, apologies are currency. Stock up. Pride's lovely in theory, but it doesn't light fires or make soup taste better. A well-timed sorry can patch holes that duct tape can't. Think of forgiveness as preventative maintenance for the soul. Third rule, jealousy's extinct. It has to be. When there are 2 people left in a 50-mile radius, dating options aren't exactly the problem. You stop comparing and start cooperating. Love shrinks down to loyalty. Not fireworks, just the steady glow of someone who hasn't legged it when things got grim. Fourth rule, never underestimate silence. Silence isn't absence, it's breathing space. In the old world, we filled every gap with noise. Music, screens, chatter. Now the pauses are where sanity grows back. Sit together, listen to the pipes creak, and don't rush to fill it. Sometimes the kindest thing you can say is nothing at all. Fifth rule, humor beats hierarchy. Forget who's in charge. The second you start pulling rank in a bunker, you're halfway to mutiny. Laughter keeps the balance. If you can joke about your own mistakes, you've already diffused half the tension. Sarcasm, used sparingly, is cheaper than therapy and doubles as entertainment. Sixth rule, remember why you're there. Not to win arguments, not to be right. You're there because staying human together is easier than going feral alone. Every eye roll you swallow and every kindness you manage is a small act of civilization. That's the real prep work. Not tins or tools, but temperament. And there'll be days you'll hate each other. That's normal. You're tired, cold, hungry, and sharing air that smells like reheated bottom gas. The trick isn't pretending it's fine, it's not letting the hate harden. Because in a world stripped to the bone, resentment's just another form of rot. So here's your checklist for bunker diplomacy. Keep your voice low, echoes remember. Keep your promises small, they're easier to keep. Laugh first, explain later. And if all else fails, make tea. It's impossible to plot revenge if the kettle's not on. When you get this right, something subtle happens. Arguments still flare, but they burn shorter. You start seeing the other person not as competition, but as a mirror. Their flaws show you yours. Their patience teaches you restraint. And that, my friends, is how love sneaks past despair. Not through grand passion, but through daily truce. People once asked me what partnership means after the end. Simple. It means holding the line for each other. When the lights fail, when morale dips, when there's nothing left to prove, you keep standing side by side, quietly refusing to let the darkness win. So, you've survived the arguments and the awkward silences, you've negotiated your peace treaties over instant noodles, and now there's the whisper of something reckless. The future. A strange thought, isn't it? When the world's in pieces, folks still start sketching blueprints. Call it hope, call it biology, call it pure stubbornness. We're built to keep imagining what next, even when now is still smoldering. Some people picture gardens sprouting on rooftops again. Some plan to rebuild towns. And some start talking about children, not as a sentimental movie ending, but as proof that the story doesn't stop with them. It sounds daft at first. Why bring new life into a world that's half broken? But that's the old logic talking, the comfort era logic, where everything had to be perfect before you began. Survival teaches you that perfection's gone out of business. You start things anyway. You mend, you plant, you risk. It's complicated. A child means more mouths to feed, more danger to guard against, more sleepless nights listening for baby screams and footsteps. But it also means a reason to keep breathing. You stop counting days and start counting lessons you'll need to pass on. How to light a fire, how to tell good water from bad, how to laugh even when the walls drip with condensation. Hope, it turns out, isn't a feeling. It's a muscle. You keep it strong by using it. And bringing someone new into the world, or even deciding to rebuild a home, is that muscle flexing against despair. Don't get me wrong, it's not all rosy philosophy. You'll still have the endless debates. Is it fair? Is it wise? And the answer is never simple. There's a balance between realism and optimism, between protecting what's left and believing there's more coming. But the very act of asking means that you haven't given up. You start seeing the bunker differently. What was once a cage turns into a seed pod. It's still dark, still cramped, but something's growing in there. Not just people, but purpose. The conversation changes from how do we survive to what kind of world do we want to step back into. Maybe you decide to plant things again. Herbs and cracked mugs, potatoes in buckets. Maybe you draw a map for the future kids who will walk out when it's safe. Maybe you just keep telling stories so memory doesn't go extinct. Every act of care becomes rebellion against the void. That's lesson 4 if you're keeping count. The future isn't a place. It's a habit. You practice it every time you choose compassion over cynicism. Every time you fix instead of discard. Every time you share a skill instead of hoarding it. The old world measured success in numbers and noise. The new one measures it in continuance. One breath after another, one joke after another, one small kindness that outlasts the candle. That's legacy enough. And when folk ask what to teach the next generation, I tell them this. Teach them to pay attention. Because that's the first thing the comfortable world stole from us. The ability to notice, really notice, what keeps us alive. Attention to water, attention to words, attention to each other, the rest follows. And now, we're back where we started. The light's still out, the air's still thick, and 2 people sitting in the glow of a candle that's done overtime. Funny, isn't it? We built a whole world of distractions, and it took the threat of losing it to remind us we were never built to be alone. You see, love, if that's what we're calling it, isn't some fair-weather hobby. It's grit, it's patience, it's the daft courage to keep caring when there's nothing left to win. All through this little thought experiment, this make-believe collapse, you might have noticed something sneaky. You started picturing your own life. Not the ruins, but the people in it, Who'd you trust? Who'd you sit beside in the dark? Who'd you keep warm, not because you had to, but because you wanted to? That's the lesson right there. You don't need an apocalypse to practice it. You just need to notice that the world as it is already gives you chances every day to be decent, to listen, to forgive, to laugh. Real survival isn't about hoarding tins. It's about learning how to stay human while everything else gets complicated. So if the power ever does go for good, or even just for a night, remember this. Light a candle, share the blanket, and talk. Start there. The rest will take care of itself. And that, my friends, is the whole course. The world may spin itself stupid, but you keep your spark. That's another run down the runway. Cheers for walking it with me. Slang of our...
That concludes this transmission of Armageddon's Runway. May your socks stay dry, your boots stay strong, and your neighbors stay distracted.
Well, bugger me, Dougie Mac Prep. I never thought this man, as grim as he is, as miserable as he sounds, actually had a heart. Turns out he's got one tucked away behind the sarcasm, beaten like a stubborn old generator. So if you've learned anything tonight, it's that even the end of the world can't shut him up, or stop him caring. That's it from us here on Armageddon's Runway. Thanks for giving up your normal life for a bit to listen to this madness. Remember, drink your water, be nice to the living, and if you really must, like, share and subscribe. It helps, apparently. Until next time, good night and good luck. This has been Armageddon's Runway, episode 14, Bunker Buddies, a proper PrepperFM production. Bye for now.